All right, Katherine. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You know, you were one of my first interviews here 2 years ago.
Back in the day.
Yes, when you were just getting started
Yep.
as president, and we were getting started over here. So, first of all, Katherine, tell me how you got involved with the SGA.
Okay, so when I was a freshman, I got admitted to Salisbury, and then they offered the new student experience programs. So they had Seagull Experience, which was a program where you would stay on campus for like a week during the summer in one of the dorms. You kind of got to experience campus life before you got here. And so I was involved with that. And one of the peer mentors, Sarah Jansen, was in SGA at the time. And she was kind of like, oh, you guys should think about joining student government when you guys get here, et cetera, et cetera. So when the student activities fair came around, I went, I signed up, and the rest is history, pretty much. So I've been in it since my fall semester freshman year.
Okay, so, and then 2 years ago as a sophomore,
Right.
you were elected president, so
Right.
you've had this position for 4 semesters.
Yep.
As president, tell me about the ride. What were some of your biggest accomplishments, some of the things that you wanted to get done that you really didn't get the chance to?
So when I went in as president my first year, one of my main goals was student apathy, kind of trying to battle that. I've figured out that that's a never-ending battle. I mean, some students will always be apathetic about Salisbury University, unfortunately, which I don't understand. Why don't you love where you go to school? It doesn't make any sense to me. But so school spirit, student apathy was one of my biggest things. Sustainability, as always, trying to increase our sustainability initiatives, which we did because we got a vice president of sustainability position on the board that year. So that was good, and then diversity. So kind of, I think when I set my goals, I tried to kind of stay in line with our administration and things that they had done that I'd seen in the past the past 2 years, and kind of tried to stay in line with that. So that was where I kind of started when I became president.
So how did it end up being with the student apathy and increasing school spirit? Where do you think you came on that?
I think we're slowly but surely getting there. I think the initiatives that we either did ourselves or helped with, so the flock was formed, which was kind of a baby from orientation and came from that. So one of the orientation leaders started the flock. So just having like student sections at games and wearing the same colored shirts and cheering and doing cheers and things like that. So we helped, we kind of helped with that. Then we also did Gull Pride Week this spring, which I think was fairly successful. I mean, for the first time, and we kind of pulled it together last minute, to be honest. So I think it went well for the most part. I mean, we had free food, and students were like, why are you giving out free food? And of course, we're like, well, we're just trying to support athletics. We're trying to support school spirit. And they're like, oh, that's awesome, like, cool. So I think if we can do it bigger and better next year and the year after that, I think it'll continue to get better. I think students are starting to come to terms with wanting to be just love Salisbury and everything about it. But like I said, there's always going to be that group who's going to be the resistors.
So tell me about some of the things that you went in wanting to do,
Right.
and they just ended up being a bit more challenging than you thought, even if you were able to accomplish them in the end.
I mean, student apathy definitely still, I mean, I don't need to talk more about it, but I mean, that's definitely been my biggest challenge since I've been in here, just trying to, and there's a lot of things that come with student apathy. It's like not wanting to attend events, so attendance at events is something huge. And it kind of snowballs into a lot of stuff. I think also too, just wanting to get our name out there more. I think our reputation has increased and things like that, but that was a big challenge for us over the years. It's just trying to help people understand what SGA was. Like, instead of just being SGA, we're the Student Government Association, and we can do A, B, and C. So I think that is a continuous challenge, but that was a challenge over the years. And then there were some internal challenges, just trying to keep ourselves organized and keeping events organized so that it doesn't look chaotic to you guys. It may be chaotic to us, but things like I Love Salisbury and Big Event, keeping those organized and making them enjoyable and easily navigate. You can easily navigate it for a student. It's hard. So I think that was something that I faced as a challenge over the past couple of years, and we were able to make baby steps in each of them. I think we made baby steps in all of those, but nothing was like huge victory, unfortunately.
Was there anything that you thought ended up being easier to get done than you may have thought before going into it?
Not really. This year was really difficult for us, for me personally, but for us. But this year was difficult, and I think the internal organization was something that took me a long time to kind of organize and figure out like how can we function as an organization well together. And I think that ended up being a little bit easier than I anticipated by us just kind of finalizing numbers, like saying we're going to have a cap on the number of senators that we have, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to delegate. That ended up being a little bit easier, I think, than I anticipated. But I think overall, I think we faced challenges in everything that we tried to do. So it was a lot.
So you talked about how you wanted students to get an understanding of what the student government did. Mm-hmm. What exactly did you all have power over or control over? What would students be surprised to learn that you guys did that we may have thought that the school administration was responsible for?
Well, we plan all of homecoming. Everything that happens during homecoming week is all us. I don't know, I mean, people may know that already, but everything that happens during homecoming is all us. A lot of the t-shirts that you guys wear, we buy those. Stop hating. I mean, I think it's funny, it's actually the reverse of your question, because there's a lot of things that we don't do that students think we do. And so I think it's helped us in the end because we get a lot of random questions. So it helps myself, it helps our board members kind of like know everything about campus. And I like that. And I try to strive to make sure our members are well versed on everything that's going around campus. So like, I'll kind of reverse your question and say like there's a lot of things we don't do. Like we don't plan concerts and we don't plan movies and we don't plan talks. That's all soap. So things like that I think was just kind of one of the annoying things that happened to us.
So tell me about some advice that you would have for your successor.
So our successor, Evan Miller, is going to be our new president. I'm very excited that he got elected. I think he's going to have a hard year ahead because I think as time goes on, I think generations are starting to change. I mean, seeing my brothers going into college and seeing how different him and his friends are from me and my friends, I think is one thing. I think students' goals and what students' mindset is when they come into school is going to be a lot different than how ours was. So, you know, I don't think anybody needs to say it. We can be classified as a party school of sorts. So I think trying to help students understand like what being involved means and like that there's more things to do than those extracurriculars that they may think is the only thing to do. So I think student mindset is going to be a big struggle for him. I think my main advice is to just persevere, just to, you know, if you get pushback, keep pushing until you can't push anymore. Because I think you don't want to go out saying I didn't try. So I think perseverance is definitely, and just determination and making connections has been probably one of the best things I've ever done in my 4 years here, is connecting with people and doing as much as I can for them, because at the end of the day, they'll do stuff for me too. So like, it's a give and take, and it's made my job honestly a lot easier. The connections that I have has made my job a lot easier. So I've told him networking connections is huge for this job. Well,
you may have just touched on this a little bit, but I was going to ask you, what do you think that you have gained most from being the president of the student government for 2 years?
It's funny because I think about myself 2 years ago and how different I was. Like I've just learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about how to be mature in certain situations and how to be around people like administrators and things like that. I've learned how to delegate. That was huge for me. That was one of my biggest weaknesses when I came in as president. I've learned how to connect with people. I've learned how to kind of establish connections and then maintain them as well. And you may have to go above and beyond at times to maintain connections, but you know the end result is going to be great. But I'm just I'm just much calmer. I don't get upset as easily about things anymore. I used to have like a major like Irish girl temper, just go crazy. But I don't do that anymore, so that's good. But yeah, just a lot of things about myself internally, which I hope I was able to kind of spread to the rest of the board and things like that. Just kind of, and I think learning how to empower people has been one of my biggest things too. It's something that I pride myself on now, that I've learned that that's important. As any student leader, it doesn't matter what organization you're in, empowerment is huge. So I think those are definitely the key things that I've learned in my 2 years.
So in these 2 years, what do you consider to be your biggest accomplishment? If you can think of one thing that really sticks out that you're most proud of.
I thought it was pretty cool they brought Kel Mitchell to school. It's really lame, but I think it was really cool. Like I remember standing at the doorway, and he was standing out in the hallway with his mic on. He was like don't go in yet, don't go in yet. And I was like, all right, I'm waiting. And he like started talking and everyone was like, oh my God, like Kel's here. And like and I have a bottle signed with orange soda. Like that was just something cool. Like I've never been able to bring a performer to campus. Like I just thought that was really cool. I don't know if it's an accomplishment. That was definitely like just something cool I got to do. And then I think also we had really good attendance at big events. So just, you know, I mean, and just, I think the Kel Mitchell thing was pretty cool. I still think about it sometimes. I have my orange soda in my room as a memoir, but yeah, that was probably my biggest accomplishment.
Okay, and finally, looking back, what do you think you'll miss most about the job and going to SU?
Yeah, I think what I'll miss most about the job is just being able to help people. I mean, I think another accomplishment, or something that I got to do this year, is that we had some leftover work from Big Event, and myself and another exec board member got to go to someone's house and clean their yard. And it sounds so simple, but like little things like that, like helping people, I think it's really important to me, and I'm gonna miss that, like having such a huge community of people that you can just like be around and help, and just having people around constantly, I think is what I'm gonna miss the most. I'm to go home and live with my parents, so that's just gonna be what it is. And then I think about Salisbury, every time I drive around, I just look at just how pretty it is and like everything about the campus, like it just feels home. So I think I'm gonna miss that homey feeling and just having like somewhere to go and relax and seeing people. I think the thing I'll miss the most is walking around campus and constantly seeing someone you know. I think is like that's the greatest thing about our campus, is that you can always see someone you know and wave hi and feel like you have someone that you have that connection with. So I think that is probably what I'm gonna miss the most. But it's been a good 4 years at Salisbury. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't have traded SGA for the world either. I think as many struggles and hard times, and then we have the great times and things like that, but I wouldn't have traded my experience for the world. And I'm very fortunate that I got to be president for 2 years, because it made me a better person in the end. And then, but I hope the same for Evan. I hope the same for our exec board. I think they're gonna have a long year ahead of them, but I'm excited for them, and I'm excited for Salisbury's future.
Well, thank you so much for
Thanks,
sitting
Eli.
and talking with us, Kathy.
Appreciate it.
You've always been a friend of ours.
Thanks,
and
Eli.
thank you for your service to the school.
No problem. Thank you.